Armarouge comes to Pokemon Unite very soon, and here's everything you need to know before this one hits Eos Island. So come along with me, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, Yeehaw, where we talk about moves, held items, boost emblems, combinations that you wouldn't expect, and more in this video. Yeehaw, did I already yeehaw? You will be Char Cadet until level 5. Let's talk about your first two moves. Incinerate is going to place a mark on your opponents, then after a short time it explodes, dealing damage over time. Also, when they are hit with this, they will take less healing from berries. Will-O-Wisp is a pretty standard burst attack that bursts at the first thing it hits, dealing damage in a little area effect around it and applying a burn. This will also slow your opponents. After using Will-O-Wisp, you also get a free boosted attack. You get a boosted attack after every third attack when you are a Char Cadet, dealing extra damage. Your attack actually changes here when you become Armarouge, and it's pretty interesting. At level 5, you get to evolve. You choose between Fire Spin and Armor Cannon. Let's talk a little bit about your boosted real quick. Using auto attacks, you'll create this little area of flame around your opponents right there, and if you hit them with either Fire Spin or your Armor Cannon, you will ignite that once you have 3, dealing extra damage. You also have this boosted gauge under your attack. Hitting multiple times with your autos will charge this. Your secondary move also charges it, and it gives you a big sort of shotgun effect to your move, hitting multiple enemies. There's ways to do a ton of boosted attacks all at once. I'll talk about that when we get to those moves. Armarouge, interestingly enough, is kind of set up to do two different things. One looks like a long-range Pokemon, and the other is sort of a close-range fighter. So looking at Fire Spin, this is for the more close-range kit. This is going to deal damage to your opponents, and it also is going to increase your special defense and defense every time this move hits for a short period of time. It looks to be about a 30% buff or so if you're able to hit with all the ticks of your Fire Spin. Something you can also do with Fire Spin is increase the duration of it by hitting enemies with your auto attacks. If done correctly, you kind of have this move up almost the entire time when you have a blue buff. Let me show you. So this is Fire Spin with a blue buff. I'm just auto attacking the entire time, and you can see how much uptime we have on Fire Spin. Maybe like a second and a half barely, where that move is actually not up. So you're gonna have that up consistently throughout the match. Your second move that looks like it pairs with Fire Spin is gonna be Flame Charge. This allows you to dash into your opponents. It's also going to give you your boosted meter full for a little while, so you're gonna have this attack that hits multiple enemies, while at the same time it will give you a shield when you charge into foes. So again, this is really set up to be sort of that brawling play style with Armarouge. Also, if you hit an enemy with Flame Charge, its cooldown is reduced, so you're able to get it back a little bit quicker. Looks like they shave about a couple seconds off if you're actually able to hit an opponent with Flame Charge. The plus version of Fire Spin is going to give you increased move speed when you're hitting opponents, and then the plus version of Flame Charge is going to give you damage reduction when you hit opponents. Again, this thing is set up for a ton of close range brawling, which is going to be interesting to see how they decide to balance this Pokemon. On the PTS, this build felt a little underwhelming, but we're gonna have to see what it looks like when it actually makes it to the game. Your other option for your first move is Armor Cannon. This is charging up that Mega Man shot right there, dealing damage and actually stunning your opponents that you hit. You get a brief stun when you hit them with this move. You can see it right there, just that little stun above your opponent's heads. This move is gonna be really powerful. It feels like it does need you to charge up, and it lowers your defense and special defense. It looks like by about 5% when you charge it up and hit an opponent. But still, I mean, this damage at range is pretty considerable, and the stun is pretty considerable. I have to talk about the plus version of this. The plus version gives you increased range, not only on Armor Cannon, but also with your auto attacks. So this truly is set to make your character much more like a ranged damage carry than the other build. It's completely different. It's night and day. Your second move option is Psyshock, and Psyshock is really interesting. It's going to deal damage in front of you 3 times, and then the final hit is going to knock your opponents up. You'll be able to use this in some really interesting combinations. You can combo Armor Cannon into Psyshock, or Psyshock into Armor Cannon. As you can see, knocking my opponent up and hitting him with a stun. That would have been more impressive had it not been a Venusaur uniting, but you get the idea. running, stun, knock up, getting away. Incredible stuff right here. Psyshock will also partially ignore some of your opponent's special defense. I'm not exactly sure by how much, but it's nice. It's a little extra damage that you'll be able to deal with them. And you can see the plus version gives increased range of the area effect, right? Or not increased range, excuse me. It gives an increased area effect of that final hit, which could be huge in some late game team fights for knocking up multiple members of the enemy team right into an armor cannon shot, or vice versa. It really works either way. We also need to talk about the Unite move. The Unite move aims in an area around you like this, and you are able to aim it towards your opponents and slightly move it after you cast it. Once it's time for this move to hit, it will stun your opponent briefly and then do some damage. So it's going to look like that. You can move it a little bit, and then it stuns and deals damage to your opponent. You'll be able to combo this move pretty well with Psyshock, it seems like. So you can cast this out, get a big stun, or even armor cannon, cast it out, big time stun right into your Unite. Hard for them to get away, another stun and some crazy damage, right? That could be a really strong combination. Psyshock and armor cannon alone are already really strong combos. Again, whichever way you go, whether you start with the charged up armor cannon right into Psyshock or the other way around, it's going to be pretty brutal. It does feel like armor cannon stun is maybe a little too short to perfectly pair with the Unite move, but it's not too bad. I think there are some other combinations that could be pretty viable. Flame Charge giving you not only a dash, but a knockup on your opponents, as well as a shield and letting you do more boosted autos, paired with armor cannon stun, could actually be a really strong combination. And while it's one of the weirder ones, being able to chase your opponents down with Fire Spin, and then if they decide to run, knocking them up with Psyshock could actually be really solid as well. It's going to be weird to see which combination of moves does best, but it feels like it's set up to have either Fire Spin and your dash, or your armor cannon and your Psyshock. I should mention also, given that Flame Charge has a knockup, you could use your Unite move into it. It's just kind of an awkward one, right? But you actually would be able to make that work. Knock up right into your charge, boom. It'll be hard for your opponents to get away, and you'll be able to sort of decide, oh, they're pulling back a little bit and pull your move slightly back, or oh, they're moving forward a little bit and push the move forward slightly. I think you'll be able to combo this pretty well, but in general, you could also just be hiding around Rayquaza, look for a big time stun right into your Unite move and try to catch multiple players. It will be hard for them to react fast enough. I should also mention that your passive with this Pokemon will allow you to take reduced damage for a little while if you take special attack damage, and your boosted attack will deal increased damage after you take special attack. This is really set up to make the brawling build especially good for chasing down special attackers on the enemy team. As far as held items are concerned, we're going to have to find out what the scaling of this Pokemon looks like, but things like Choice Specs, Wise Glasses, and Slick Spoon will all be quite powerful. You also might find a good opportunity to play Shell Bell on the build that is more focused on brawling, and you could see things like Curse items being very useful on this Pokemon as well. In general, for a lot of special attackers like this, you're going to focus on dealing as much damage as possible. However, with the Brawly build, things like Focus Band might be a real option. For boost emblems, I think something like this will be quite powerful. 6 green, 6 white, 3 black. Now, obviously with the ranged attack build, you might just go green black, but this is for more of the bruiser build. You have a decent amount of HP with this Pokemon, so the extra HP would help if you're up in the mix a lot. And then of course, extra special attack is always good for your damage dealers. At range, it will probably look a little more like this: 6 green, 7 black, 2 white. So you're able to get that extra cooldown so you can use your moves even faster. Very important. If you're able to get your moves a little quicker in a fight, it could be a huge difference maker. So there you go. Everything you need to know. Did I miss something? If so, let me know in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you, and I'll see y'all next time. We did it.